la sesión. Listo. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome to this conference, Undertaking Learning Difficulties in the English Language Classroom. My name is Leo Rivas. I'm from ENES León, Escuela Nacional de Estudios Superiores, Unidad León. And here is my email. Please write it down just in case you have any questions, or if you want to participate in the chat via email, please be my guests, okay? I hope that you find all of this information very useful for your teaching practice, okay? And well, today, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the context of what I have been working on for the past 7-8 years now. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of context of my own personal context. I'm going to give you a little light on conceptual models, introduce you to some conceptual models that seek to approach learning difficulties. Then we're going to get into a little bit of theory, but just a scratch, not too much, because I mean, it's supposed to be very, very practical, this talk. It's not supposed to be very theoretical. So just a few definitions on some very important terms: specific learning difficulties, dyslexia, executive function, and then some characteristics that we can observe in the classroom, and a few tips and tricks, whatever this time allows me to share with you guys. Okay, so let's get started with a little personal motivation. And well, when I was a little kid, school was a bit difficult. It was a little bit difficult for myself and my brother, because I couldn't stand still. I just couldn't sit in my own chair. I always had to be bouncing off the walls. And that kind of did something to teachers, okay? And to classmates as well. I just couldn't stop bothering the classmates. And I was labeled with all sorts of names, you know, hyperactive, and I'm just a bad kid, and different things that I still remember. Not knowing that I had a difference. I had a learning difference. I had a difficulty staying still, basically. My brother had a different kind of difficulty, and it was very difficult for him to remember information. So we both had something. And what surprised me the most is that, you know, nobody really knew about it. Teachers didn't care about it. They just thought we were just bad students. We were called, like I said, we were called names, labeled. And that's where this comes from, okay? My motivation, my passion for this topic. I want to share, you know, with teachers what this is, okay? What's going on in their classrooms, especially with those unteachable learners, okay? Or those students that appear not to progress, that have the tiniest bit of difficulty, and they just abandon the course. What can we do with these students? There are a few things that we can. Let's take a look, okay? So with the ones that are here right now, can somebody share with me, open your mics or in the chat, have you ever had a student who found learning English or a language, any language, a huge challenge? Okay, I'm pretty sure you have, and I will tell you why later, just not right now. Anybody? Does anybody want to share? A learner who just struggled and struggled, who has taken this course many times, not this course, an English course, a language course many times. No? Okay. Well, we've all had them, actually, statistically. We've all had learners who just have a really difficult time attempting this daunting challenge of learning this whole new linguistic system, okay? And let's take a look at why. Context. You have a language course, and it's an A1 level, okay? And you just covered a grammatical point, the present continuous for future. Okay, this weekend I'm visiting my parents. I am eating a barbecue, etc., etc. Okay, and you're closing off the this section, and you ask your students for something. You're supposed to write a paragraph, okay? And in this paragraph, they're going to tell you what they're planning to do in the next coming days using the grammar point, present continuous for future, okay? And well, everyone does it. You start reading a couple assignments. Everything seems to be going fine. And then something happens. You land on one, it kind of catches you off guard. And this is what you read in this assignment. What is this? It says later working on the Monday. The Tuesday I go by, I eating. Well, wait a minute, what? Leda? What's Leda? Is that a name? That's not my student's name. And then working, it's misspelled. Okay, we have something good on the Monday. Well, it's not supposed to be the. There isn't supposed to be an article there. It should say on Monday. Does that mean Leda is working on Monday? And then it says, the Tuesday I go by, I eating. Whoa. Is that supposed to be on Tuesday? I am buying what I'm eating? I don't know. Okay, so obviously there's something wrong. There's something particularly wrong here. It's not like the other assignments that you've just read. It's strange. It's unusual. Spelling, syntax, added words, capitals and lowercase letters. Okay, so something's going on. Those were my initial thoughts the first times I came across assignments like these, or paragraphs, or pieces of writing like these. Okay. So obviously something isn't quite right. And so what do I do as a teacher? Do I just bring the student in and say, hey, this is completely wrong, crumble it up, throw it on the floor and say, do it again? That would be pretty harsh. That would be very demotivating. And that would be, I don't know, poor teaching etiquette, I would say. Okay. What else can I do? I mean, the learner, punctual, good learner, good student, never misses a class, always there, always paying attention, great attitude, sometimes answers correctly in class. Their production skills, or his or her production skills, not quite right. Something's just, it doesn't fit, it doesn't match. Okay. Then we forget about this event, and sometime later, different class, another student is going to participate, okay, in the class. You ask this student to read, and this is what happened in that one particular occasion. Now, Alex, can you help me read, please?
Of course.
Excellent. Thank
Sometime
you,
later,
Alex.
in another class,
Hold
you had a
on.
student read, and this is what happened.
Give me a second. Here it comes, okay? Read this one, please.
Oh, okay. Oops.
Can you help me read, please?
So once when I was 6 years old, I saw a magnificent picture in a book called True Stories from Nature about the primeval forest.
Primeval forest.
Primeval, sorry.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Please continue reading.
It was a picture of a boy, instructor.
It was a picture.
It was a picture of a boy.
Of a boa.
Boa.
Constrictor.
Okay, constrictor.
In the act.
In the act
of. Please continue.
Swallowing an animal. Here's copy. Oh, here.
Here is a copy.
Oh, here's a copy of drawing.
Of the drawing. Okay, please continue, Alex. Today's your day.
In the book, it said,
Boa,
Boa
constrictors,
constrictors
swallow,
swallow their prey
whole.
whole.
Please continue.
Without chewing it.
Uh-huh.
After that,
Can you help me with this
they
last part, Alex, please?
I
I pondered.
pondered.
I pondered.
Pondered
Deeply.
deeply. My God.
Okay, time. All right, so this is not a learning difference. This is not what they see, okay? I'm going to mute your microphone, Alex. This is not what they see. I'm not saying that this is it right here. It's similar. It's very similar. Let me show you what happens next, okay? Okay, lots of unusual sounds from my fictitious student. Sometimes it wasn't understandable. I made gentle corrections. I modeled the language. The student immediately returns to reading or attempting to read, but they read differently still, no matter what I just did. Okay. Then I said, okay, you know what? Let's repeat this. And I'm going to have a different student read this. Can somebody else help me, please? Come on, guys, don't be shy. Anybody?
Yes, I can.
Thank you, Tanya. And here it comes.
Once when I was 6 years old, I saw a magnificent picture in a book called True Stories from Nature about the primeval forest. It was a picture of a boa constrictor in the act of swallowing an animal. Here is a copy of the drawing.
Thank you. Jose Francisco, can you please help me now? Thank you, Tanya.
Yeah. In the book, it said, boa constrictors swallow their prey whole.
Continue.
Without chewing. After that, they are not able to move, and they sleep through the 6 months that they need for digestion.
Continue, please.
I pondered deeply then over the adventures of the jungle, and after some work with a colored pencil, I succeeded in making my first drawing. My drawing number 1, it looks like this.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Jose Francisco. Appreciate it. Okay, so guys, this is in the same classroom. This is the same day. Tanya read perfectly fine. Jose Francisco read perfectly fine. But something happened with my other student, my other wonderful students. They're all wonderful. I had a student who paused a lot, kept looking at the text, kept focusing so much on trying to decipher the code, couldn't read fluently. Do you think this person can also understand what they're reading when they're spending so much effort? They're trying so hard to just read in front of their classroom. Okay, so this is a difference. Okay, this is a reading difference that just happened. We witnessed it right now, obviously synthetically, fictitiously. I'm not saying that this is it. Okay, so quite a difference. Quite a difference. Okay, now these types of learners, they tend to be shy. They tend to be embarrassed about it. I don't know if you guys saw our dear student Alex, who's like, oh, kind of giggled at times, picked up coffee. He's like, well, how do I get out of this one? Okay. Now, these types of students, they tend to avoid reading. Why? Because imagine, I mean, we're adults here, and obviously this is a conference, so nothing happens. But imagine in a high school with students who don't understand this. Imagine the types of comments that this person is going to receive. What? You don't know how to read? What? I mean, that's just the nicest thing they could say, probably. Imagine professors, teachers who don't understand this. I have heard all sorts of comments being made. Nice comments and not so nice. The spectrum is so wide. Okay, so they don't want to read. Okay, and as you saw, Alex, he giggled. He was like, "Oh, right." Also, when you kind of talk to these students, it seems like they don't pay attention. Now, I'm not saying all of them have the same thing either. We'll talk about this later on. Okay. But you kind of approach these types of students and they kind of get lost in thought, kind of like change the topic. They kind of talk over you. You're talking, blah, blah, trying to explain something, and there they come. It's like, oh, hold on, I'm not finished, man. Okay. And also when they're explaining something to you, it's like, hey, what happened here? You know, like how can their ideas, their flow of ideas kind of drifts off and then comes back. Very interesting. Okay. Now, I'd love to ask you if you have had any similar cases in your classes. Have you ever seen a student like this that writes, it seems like something completely unrelated with so many grammatical mistakes, with unusual letter sizes, the size of their writing, the way they write is a little bit different, or the way they read is a little bit different. Now, when I say different, gosh, that is so huge too, because it could be producing unusual sounds, just not seeing certain letters, or reading it as if it were in Spanish. Okay, like when we do the past of the verb work, you know, and they say work it. Of course, this is generalized because students are learning, but this one student just can't get it and will always read it as work it. Just to name a an example. I'm pretty sure you have a friend, maybe a family member, maybe one of you may have some of these learning difficulties. Okay, now exactly what is going on? Let's take a deeper dive. So these are called specific learning difficulties. Okay, and I'm going to take a lot of information from Judith Kormosh, who has been working on this, developing this topic for quite a long time. Okay, now she states that it is a disability. Okay, specific learning difficulties. It's a disability. However, the word disability has connotations. Okay, and it pushes us to view people in a certain way when they're labeled with certain words, such as disability or disorder, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so she says that our discourse towards others frames them in particular ways and may encourage certain attitudes and behaviors towards them. Hence, this term, specific learning difficulties, and not disability for her. Now, the reasoning behind this, okay, there are different conceptual models that want to approach, that seek to approach, I should say, understanding learning differences, learning difficulties, learning disorders, learning disabilities. Depending on the area where you find yourself, whether it's the medical area or the educational area or the psychological area, you use different names to understand the concepts from your angle, from your position. Now, the first one is the deficit model, and the deficit model mentions disabilities as being deficiencies and barriers in life. And there's a consequence to viewing learning difficulties in this way. Why? Because it puts the whole focus, that discourse puts the focus on meeting individual needs and no attention environmentally on the environment, creating those barriers to learning. So all the focus is on the person and the symptoms or the characteristics that that particular person has. Another one, and the one that Judith Kormosh proposes, is the interactional model, okay? Or the one she adopts, I should say. And this one, disabilities hinder participation in society because the particularities of individuals interact with barriers in the environment. Wait a minute, let me read that again. Disabilities hinder participation in society because the particularities of individuals interact with barriers in the environment. Quite different, guys, quite different. Now, what is the essence of this view? Okay. So if we take this perspective, okay, It will allow to not only describe the characteristics of the individual, okay, but it will also give room or open the door to investigate, to research, okay, the interaction between those differences, those difficulties, and the environment. It opens the door for this other major construct, the environment. Okay, very important, because now it's not about you, it's about the environment as well, the school, the teacher, your social climate. Okay, now the proposal is research around the world posits different statistics concerning prevalence of learning difficulties. Some countries have found that 5% of their student populations, other countries 7, others 10, others 15. Okay, so depending on whom you read and from which area or angle they did their research, you will find different estimates. Okay, I would say that a conservative number is 10%. So 1 in 10 of your students will have a difference. 1 in 10. Okay, now hold your horses. I'm not saying that everyone will have exactly the same problem. No, I am not saying that. The characteristics are different for every single one of them. Someone who has been diagnosed with dyslexia, okay, that's not the same dyslexia as this other person who has also been diagnosed with dyslexia. Talk about that a little bit more later on. Okay, so the first thing we need to do with our students is try to get them to get a professional diagnosis. That way we can know for sure exactly what's going on. Okay, and who can diagnose? Well, you know, in children, there are different tests that they can take. And for adults, it takes more of a team. Even for children, it takes a team. But for adults, there isn't really a test for adults. I mean, there are some, there's software online that where they can take a test with questions, and it kind of analyzes their history, et cetera, et cetera. And now this team right here, a team of including a pedagogist or a psychologist or a language pathologist, neurologist, psychiatrist, even a pediatrician, they can all team up to diagnose somebody, because sometimes it can be quite a challenge, okay? But these are the areas that are involved in diagnosing. And guess what? There's another person, another profession that's very, very important. Which one? Does anybody know? No? Nobody wants to guess?
Teachers.
Correct.
Teachers.
Absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Why teachers? Well, teachers spend the most time with their students. They have them in class for long periods of time. They can observe. Okay, when they visit a psychologist, it's a, I don't know, an hour-long thing, a 2-hour-long thing. Language pathologist, et cetera, et cetera. But the teachers, we spend a lot of time with them. We can observe them for prolonged period of time, for a prolonged period of time, and take notes of what we observe. Okay, so teachers play a crucial role in forming part of a team that may diagnose. Okay. Okay, so specific learning difficulties. The definition comes from the diagnostic of from this book, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, the DSM-5 from the American Psychiatric Association. And Cormarsh basically says that it's the most empirically evidenced. Okay, and she modifies these definitions a little bit because this is a medical book. Okay, it's a medical book, it comes from medicine. They have their own purpose for naming, for using certain words to name certain the characteristics of a learner. Okay, now in the DSM-5, we're gonna find a couple subcategories of specific learning disorders. The word they use in the DSM-5 is a disorder. Okay, and the subcategories that concern us today are the following. basically, number one, specific learning disorder in reading. Okay. And what does this deal with? What does it involve? It's basically word level decoding dyslexia. Okay. Another characteristic of a specific learning disorder in reading is higher level text comprehension problems. The next one that we have, it's specific learning disorder in writing. And this one basically deals with spelling, punctuation, grammatical accuracy, clarity, organization, written expression. As you can see, guys, well, this has got a lot to do with language teaching. Language teaching is very much a matter of spelling, grammatical accuracy, being clear with your ideas, organizing your ideas, the skill of writing, right? I'm gonna go back to the previous slide real quick. There we go. Okay. And let's see. Word level decoding. That's got everything to do with language learning, attributing phonemes to graphemes, segmenting words, okay? Text comprehension problems. That looks like language learning to me, okay? And other underlying weaknesses that the DSM-5 mentions is that they have difficulties or differences with working memory, executive functioning, processing speed, phonological processing. And as you can imagine, geez, we need to, I mean, learning a language requires a lot of memory work. You need to memorize a lot of things, okay? Of course, through lots of repetition, through different media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Executive functioning, your organizational skills, okay? Amongst other things. So let's understand this a little bit more. Let's get another perspective, a more precise perspective, because the learning difference that I have found in what I have done really does it is dyslexia. Dyslexia really hinders language learning. Okay, and what is dyslexia? I'm going to read this definition by the International Dyslexia Association from 2002, which says, dyslexia is a specific learning disability that is neurological in origin. It is characterized by difficulties with accurate and or fluent word recognition and by poor spelling and decoding abilities. These difficulties typically result from a deficit in the phonological component of language that is often unexpected in relation to other cognitive abilities and the provision of effective classroom instruction. Oh my goodness. Okay, so difficulties with accurate and or fluent word recognition. Guys, we spend a lot of time writing on the board and looking at our texts and writing it, and students writing their notes. Poor spelling, sheesh. I mean, I don't know in your exams, guys, but spelling counts a lot, right? Decoding abilities. Deficit in the phonological component of language. Okay, attaching phonemes to graphemes. We'll talk about them in a second. And all of this, regardless of effective classroom instruction. Sheesh, I prepared my class so well. How come this student doesn't understand? How come this student doesn't get it? Okay, let's take another look at dyslexia. This one is more recent from Shaywitz and Shaywitz, 2020. And it says the term dyslexia means an unexpected difficulty in reading for an individual who has the intelligence to be a much better reader, most commonly caused by a difficulty in the phonological processing, which is the appreciation of the individual sounds of spoken language, which affects the ability of an individual to speak, read, and spell. Oh my goodness, again, speak, read, and spell, everything to do with language learning, everything, okay? So what kinds of problems do you guys imagine a learner with an SLD may have in his or her language class? What types of problems? Well, spelling problems, listening problems, writing problems, just about any problem with learning, with language production, with language understanding, okay? I mean, what we just read right now, it's shocking to me. The first time I read this, I was like, oh my goodness, no wonder. That's why this person, it seems like can I do something about this? I mean, now that I know this information, can I actually do something about this? So I started reading up more, and what I found was a little bit shocking and encouraging. Okay, let's take a look. So some challenges in the classroom: mixing up letters, misreading words, like our dear colleague and fictional student Alex read in the beginning of this presentation. Reading slowly, same thing. Difficulty with understanding meaning, the same. Difficulty reading text aloud and paying attention to meaning, spelling those words incorrectly, sound written word correspondence. And here it comes. Basically, this dyslexia, the underlying theory is that they cannot attach a phoneme or to a grapheme, okay? Not that they cannot, they just have lots of difficulties doing it in traditional ways, through traditional means, okay? And guess what? More challenges. Challenges with sound discrimination. So when we play those listenings, lost. I can't understand anything. What? 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 I don't understand. Locked. Memorizing new words. Hey, I need you to memorize 100 verbs because we're going to have a quiz in a couple of days. Impossible. Impossible in such a short amount of time. Possible in extended amount of times. Expressing themselves clearly or fully understanding what someone is saying to them. Okay, dyslexia may not be apparent in L1, but may manifest in L2, depending on their level of severity. Okay, now problems with self-esteem. Okay, so what do we do? Okay, now I have all of this information. They're going to have problems or challenges in everything that we do in class. Okay, because of time, I'm just going to move a little bit forward. Okay, so take note, please, guys. Take note, take screenshots, or watch this video later, or I even have a better solution for you at the end of this. Okay, but these are some observable areas in the classroom, starting with orthography. Okay, they will have difficulties in terms of additions, deletions, substitutions of parts of words, or even choosing appropriate spelling choice for a given sound. Okay, some examples: tick for trick. I mean, the person had to write trick, they wrote tick. Walk for walking. I know walking is like engraved in my mind. So I walking, he walking, she walking, we all walking. Subtly for suddenly. Remember for remember. Toe for two. Hacker for park. And so on and so forth. Okay. Also, word boundaries. Look at this right here. Another for another. First stones for first ones. Half an hour for half an hour divided, right? Phonetic spelling, use, walked. Okay. Unusual or inconsistent spelling, unusual sequencing of letters, multiple attempts at spelling a targeted word. Look at this, shule, skule for school. Okay, they may have difficulties discriminating similar looking letters like B's, P's, D's, AO's, L's for I's, M, N's. Okay, another area, syntax. And how is syntax a problem here? Difficulties grasping the syntactic rules of English. Okay, so it's not going to be very structural. It may be very ungrammatical compared to their peers. Okay, now mind you, Nijakowska, she states that their sentences tend to be short in affirmative form and in the active voice. Okay, I should clarify right now that all of this information, the observables, come from Nijakowska 2010. Particular difficulty when it comes to questions, direct and indirect objects, and especially the passive voice. Okay, so consistent mistakes, consistent syntactic mistakes. Okay, and even when the teacher, the facilitator has taken that extra time, that extra tutoring session in class or privately through many more examples, and on the spot, they may get it, but next day they already forgot. Okay. Another area, the area of semantics. There we go. Here we go. Okay, so concerning semantics, difficulties with the finding the acquisition of semantic rules. It's going to be very difficult for them. It's going to be difficult for them to organize their ideas of narratives. Disorganized utterances. They don't have narrative structure. And the content of what we demand or ask from them is going to be very, very low at times. Okay. If we're reading a story, they may find a challenge understanding the plot, the characters, the sequence of the activities, conclusions. And of course, the meaning of words in particular contexts, synonyms, implications, transformations. They will have a lot of difficulties. As we saw with reading, they may have problems reading, and they'll avoid it. They just don't want to do it sometimes. They may appear nervous. Okay, they don't want another episode of embarrassment. You know, they know, some of them realize that their pronunciation is very distorted. It's different. It's unusual. And when they see others like looking at them like, what is going on here? They tend to shy away. Okay. The fluency of reading is very low, as we saw with the example in the beginning. And as we saw in the example, also understanding the comprehension will not be very good. Okay. Another area, of course, is writing. If you have them complete a writing activity, it's going to take them quite a long time. Okay. It's going to be a little under the standard. Perhaps it may be unintelligible. Maybe it will have letters that are not properly formed. Perhaps they even miss completely periods and commas, capital letters. Okay, this is very common. The spacing between their letters and their words is quite irregular as well. Okay, and it may not make sense. Another area is executive function. They will have problems with the executive function. Now, what exactly is this? According to Diamond in 2012, executive function is a family of top-down mental processes needed when you have to concentrate and pay attention, when going on automatic or relying on instinct or intuition. When relying on instinct or intuition would be ill-advised, insufficient, or impossible. Okay. Some broad categories of executive function is inhibition, the inhibitory control, which includes self-control, behavioral control, interference control, which is selective attention, and cognitive inhibition. Inside of executive function, we find working memory and cognitive flexibility. Diamond also states that higher order executive functions, such as reasoning, problem solving, and planning, are built into the executive function. Okay, so problems with working memory and problems with organizational skills. Oh, sheesh. Okay, with remembering times, dates, sequential order of information, recalling phonologically sequential information, such as days, months, the steps to accomplish something, instructions, phone numbers. Okay, that's going to be quite challenging for them. What do they need? They need additional time to recall these words. Sometimes they may need a lot of time, and you just give it to them. If you observe teachers, even if you observe your own teacher, you ask a student a question, and many teachers, what they do is they don't give learners enough time to answer, much less to learners with difficulties. Okay. So if they have problems with their working memory, with remembering things, they'll be quite forgetful. Okay. They may have poor concentration skills, okay? Also keeping tracks of their notes. Sometimes they write a note here and a note there and a note in another piece of paper. They don't know where they left it. They don't even know where they left their book, their notebook, okay? Deadlines, they'll have problems remembering deadlines. Or even assignments, very important assignments. Hey, this is worth like half of your grade. How did you not turn it in? Okay. And more. Some of them may have poor gross motor skills, a deficient balance, poor orientation. Some of them cannot tell right from left. They find it quite difficult. Okay. So, okay, this is overwhelming. This is a lot, people. This is too much. And all of these concepts are paramount. They are so vital to learning, to being inside of a classroom, and of course, inside of our area of language teaching, okay? What can I do inside of my classroom? Take a look at the dyslexia style guide. Search for this online. It'll tell you a little bit about your written communication. For example, my presentation has taken some of these considerations in order to be readable as much as possible to people with learning difficulties. It'll tell you about readable fonts, which fonts are best to use. It'll tell you about the font size, the interletter spacing, the interword spacing. It'll tell you about headings and structure. You know, and many of them ask you to avoid greens, reds, and pinks in your presentations, in your assignments, things that you give to your learners, okay? They ask you to left align because then they know exactly that, you know, this line, what I'm reading right now starts here and ends here, okay? It asks you to keep your communication short and simple and to try to write in the active voice, amongst many other things, okay? So number one, let's take a look at the dyslexia style guide. Also, number two, observe. You need to observe them. And what exactly are you going to observe? Exactly what we just talked about. Orthography, syntax, semantics, reading, writing, their speaking skills. You can take this little format that I created some time ago. So you can write the name of the student, the class, the date, the level of severity, whether it's not present, mild, moderate, or severe, give notes, examples, and always try to have some of these available. You can even write notes if you don't have a format somewhere. And when you start gathering those notes, you will see patterns. Why is this important? Because if this student wants to get a diagnosis, you can give them your notes. You can have communication with the language pathologist, with the psychiatrist, with the pedagogist, and you can share information. And this is concrete evidence of difficulties the learner may be experiencing, okay? And then when you have this information, you have to talk about it with the learner, okay? And how do you approach the learner? Now, guys, a rookie mistake. When I started doing this, I thought everybody had it. I wanted to see it in everybody. And I didn't know how to approach people. Some learners, some of my students got a little bit uncomfortable with me approaching them about this because I was not private about it. I was not tactful and prudent as I should have been. So if you're going to talk to these learners, do it in private, please. Be tactful. Be very prudent with your comments, okay? Let them know exactly what you have noticed. Hey, listen, I noticed that when it's time for you to read, you have quite a difficulty. Why is that? Has it happened to you before? Okay, encourage them to get proper diagnosis. There's nothing more powerful than this. Believe it or not, I had one of my research subjects thought this person had dyslexia because he had been labeled by somebody as dyslexic when he was a child. So this person went his whole life thinking he was dyslexic until he went to get a proper diagnosis and he said, no, you're not dyslexic. And when he took that label off, it was quite different. Also, talk to your school authorities. Get your school authorities on board. I really thank God that this topic is gaining a lot of momentum right now. And more people are starting to look this way, to look at neurodiversity, to look at dyslexia, to look at various underlying difficulties that learners have. And they're starting to invest in this. They're starting to have contact with different types of professionals to help their learners. Okay, so talk to school authorities and seek help for these learners. Okay. What else? Please don't judge. Don't judge. I still, even when I have given my colleagues these talks and this training, these different workshops that I give, I still hear a few of them saying, "Nah, this person is faking it." How do you know that person is faking it, man? No, because I can tell. I mean, you can just look at the guy and you know he's faking it. And I know you can't judge. You can't say that. You don't have a diagnostic. Okay, you may be harming this person. Okay, please open the communication channel. Okay, communication should go both ways. Listen more than you speak to your student. Foster a good relationship with not only the student, with everybody, even your colleagues. Okay, very important. The social environment. Students tend to be mean. They can be, not tend to, they can be pretty mean. So talk to the class. Of course, you're not going to say, "Hey guys, this person has," no. In the beginning of the semester, you can make a general comment. Guys, we all learn at different levels, at different paces. Be very patient. If you have a classmate who's having a difficult time, be patient, be tolerant, be empathetic, help your classmate out. I don't know. You can make a ton of comments and remind them throughout the semester or the course, okay? In all of your presentations, in your worksheets, in the classroom, around, please, the least amount of distractions. Some classrooms are packed with all sorts of posters, all sorts of visual stimulus, with sounds, with all sorts of things. This can be quite distracting, okay? One thing that I found very, very powerful, even for learners who don't have a difficulty, is structured pauses. Okay, what is that? Pause. Take a moment for things to sink in. Ask your students if it's okay for you to move on to the next phase of your instruction, of your points, of your lesson plan. Okay, give them time to copy. Give them time to take a picture, I don't know, to do whatever. Give time, but you have to pause. Okay. Use different types of media. Make your class multisensorial. Give them a lot of auditive exercises, examples. Have them touch it as well. Have them build things. Have them cut out. Have them use colors. Make mind maps. Create videos. Create I don't know, audio notes. Have them use WhatsApp. I mean, there are so many different things that we can use. You have to break the shell. You have to go explore new things to deliver, and also for them to deliver their assignments to you. Okay, lots of review. Give plenty of review in your classes. If you don't have time to review, either create your own videos, or guys, go on YouTube and say, "Hey guys, please, you have to review. I found this great video. Here it goes." Okay, pause. Again, structured pauses, guys. Try not to rush. If you can, and this person has a professional diagnostic, you have to modify exams. You have to modify their their test taking time. If they cannot produce written assignments, why would you ask them to give you a written test? Why can they give you an audio? Why can they create a video? Okay, why can't they sit down with you after class and explain it to you? Maybe they can't write it, maybe they can't read it, okay, but they can explain it to you. And if they can't read it, maybe they need you to read it to them, or maybe they need you to create an audio file of that particular reading. Okay, remember, it's a word-based, it's a letter-based, it's a phonological processing-based difficulty. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the social climate. okay? In this university where I am, and in every single university, every single elementary, every single high school, middle school, every single language school I visited, they have called their students horrible things. They have encouraged their students to get psychological help because there's something wrong with you. They have said many mean things. I have it on record. Okay, some students, I mean, not students, my research subjects have mentioned horrible things that one teacher told them when they were like 5, 6 years old. At 40 years old, they still remember it as if it were yesterday. Be careful with what you say to your students. It has to be a safe learning environment. I have found with what I have done, a safe learning environment makes a huge difference for everybody. A safe working environment, because also for colleagues amongst teachers, it can be quite brutal too. But their social climate has to be welcoming. Okay. Let me see. A huge area of opportunity is note taking. Okay. You need to help them learn how to take notes, how to be systematic about taking notes. This is a huge area of opportunity. A quick one. Hey, I need you to bring 3 colors or the colors that you like most. Okay. The topics will be in this color. The content will, have them do something with colors and systematic note taking. Okay. Now, colors can help them organize their ideas. It can help them create mind maps. Mind maps are found to help learners with difficulties. Okay. In taking notes, they don't have to be written. They can also be oral, auditive. With our current technology, any cell phone can record voice. Okay. Have them touch it, build letters in sand or in the air. Even tracing in the air can really help somebody. Okay. When reading, have them cut out these brackets, these L-shaped squares, so that they can cover everything and just focus on that one paragraph, so that they're not distracted by all sorts of letters all over the page. And when they concentrate on that paragraph, they can close them further and concentrate on that one line, or they can close them further and concentrate on particular words a little at a time. This has helped enormously, tremendously. Okay. Concerning technology, there are so many apps. There are so many apps to learn vocabulary, to memorize. Okay. Our telephones can help with this. How? Creating voice notes. It can help them with pronunciation. Okay. If they download someone's microphone. Here we go. Thank you. Okay. I see someone else without a mic. Yes. Okay. If they download a translator, a dictionary, a translator, whatever it is, they can. They can listen to the word and pronounce it. Okay. There are so many apps for grammar, Duolingo, to help them with syntax, text processing, word processing. Our own word can help them with their spelling. And very powerful is if they're allowed to video record the classes, that would be wonderful. They don't have to record anybody. They can just record you or even the teacher. If you don't want to be recorded, can you position it somewhere so that it can record the board? Can they do that? Or if you're teaching online, can you record the classes? That would be wonderful for them. What else can we use? Well, I just said it. Cell phones. Everybody has a cell phone nowadays. If I can't read it, there are apps that will help, that will read it, that will read text for them. Okay. They can take those pictures like I just said. There are so many apps that can help learners with differences. Okay. So many. The scope of this presentation, it's just such little time that I can give you workshops if you allow me to, concerning the use of these apps and many, many other things. Okay. And even better, tablets, bigger screens. They can write, and some processors kind of fix the letters so that they're all nice and neat and orderly. Okay. and besides everything that I've just commented. Okay, guys, so would you like to read this information again calmly without me rushing through this information? Yes or no? I see Alex saying yes. Okay, and I'm pretty sure the rest of you may be saying yes as well. Okay, I have something for you. This right here. Okay, everything that I just mentioned in greater detail is available in this small publication that I was able to produce, where I share my experiences with this. I share everything that I just told you, plus many other things. It's called A Concise Introduction to Dyslexia in the Adult English Language Classroom. It's free. It's on Amazon. It's on Kindle. And if you write an email to me, I'll send it to you, PDF. Okay, you're free this at no charge. Now, I'd love to talk a little bit about this. It's a small publication. It's only 75 pages long, and it's lightly theoretical, heavily practical, because language teachers, we're always on the go. We're always busy. We have 300 students. We have 200 students. We don't have time to go into all of the details of the theory. What we want is practical ideas. So what did I do? This is what I did. I talked very little of the theory and a lot of tips and tricks. I also talk in a very, very informal manner. I talk from teacher to teacher. I need everybody to understand this in the smallest amount of time. This is just a concise introduction. Okay, you're not going to find the deep theoretical constructs, but it has all of the references, of course. Okay, so that you can delve even deeper. Now, do you want to know more? Do you want me to keep talking about this? We don't have time. This is just too much. I'm sure you're overwhelmed. I'm sure that you already forgot the first slide. Okay. But the good thing is that you're here, that you're sharing. Okay. Well, thank you very much. It's 1:20. I'm 10 minutes short, but it's just so much information that I don't even know where to stop, where to begin, what to continue, what not to continue. And well, my name is Leo Rivas. This is my email, larivas, at nes.unam.mx. If you write me an email, I can send you the book and send you more information, and help you with the workshop or anything that you guys think would be useful, not only for you, not only for you, not only for the teachers at your school or your department or your area, not even for your university, for our students. Okay, because our students deserve, especially these marginalized communities, these communities of students who have had lots of problems throughout their lives, who have been called names, who have been demoralized, who think they cannot learn, who think that they're, I don't want to say these words that I have heard. It's just despicable to me. Okay. But it's for them, you know. Actually, guess what? You can do something. There are different things that you can do. Of course, guys, let me be clear to you. Okay. Everybody's different. And what works for one student may not work for another student. Oy. So what do we do? What do we do when we have 50 students? Can you pay attention to that one student? Sheesh, Marish, I don't know. It's difficult. Okay. Now, research around the world, you know, inclusion. You need to create inclusive classrooms. I don't know if that works in our country, in our context, with our cultural understandings of learning differences, of inclusion, of disabilities, physical or the invisible ones like these that we're seeing right now. Okay. Can we? Is it possible? I don't know. At least in my experience and what I have done is no, I can't. I can't do everything that I just told you inside of my regular classroom. Why? Because we have a program to cover. And if I don't cover the program, next term, they're going to be lost. Okay. Or in our language school, people pay. Okay. They demand. And I can't slow everybody down for that one person. what we can do at this point. What I have done, where I have seen success, is working in very small groups, working one-on-one, and creating tailor-made courses. Very difficult, right? I mean, especially when you work at a school, at a high school with 50, 60 students, very difficult. However, it's not impossible. We're at a good time. The topic is gaining lots of momentum. My only hope is that school authorities, people in positions of power, real power, will pay lots of attention to this topic and fund so many programs. There's very little research on this in Mexico. There's so much to be done, guys. And so anyway, this has been my presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much, Celitas. Thank you so much to my dear friend, colleague, Emma Navarrete, my dear friend, colleague, Edgar, Alex, Santa, Viviana, Tania, Jose Francisco, Gloria, Beatriz, Ana Brenda, Manuel, Tamara, Mariana Pimentel. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Okay. Edgar, would you like to open the little forum a little bit, or do you guys want to switch to Spanish? ¿Quieren una sesión de preguntas o algo?
Sí, bueno, muchas gracias. ¿Me activas la cámara? ¿Se podrá?
Creo que ya está. ¿Puedes activarla en este momento? Listo, creo que ya.
Gracias. Bueno, muchas gracias al maestro Leonardo. Si alguien tiene alguna pregunta, español, inglés, adelante.
Yo tengo una pregunta. Toda esta información está principalmente relacionada, y me imagino, con estudiantes universitarios, ¿correcto? Ahora,
Adultos.
adultos. Ahora, todas estas situaciones generalmente se presentan, o era típico que se presentaran en la escuela elemental. Es generalmente donde inclusive hay especialistas o áreas de especialidad para algunos de estas situaciones. He oído en tiempos recientes que por alguna razón no se atienden en esos momentos o en esas etapas y están llegando al nivel universitario. Mi duda es, o mi curiosidad, ¿qué tanto llegan? ¿Qué tanto verdaderamente seremos capaces de identificarlos en la universidad?
Bien, muchas gracias por esta pregunta. Lo mejor que podemos hacer es identificar cuando empiezan a leer. Cuando empiezan a leer es cuando empezamos a ver ciertas particularidades, ¿no? Por supuesto, hay especialistas, las normales tienen áreas de especialidad en esto, pero por algún motivo no se les está atendiendo, por el número de estudiantes, por el número de personas, de profesores capacitados, por el número de programas y cuántas personas pueden recibir estos programas, etcétera, etcétera. Ahora, nuevamente repito, el estimado conservador es 1 en 10, ¿no? 1 en 10 de nuestros estudiantes. Podríamos decir 1 en 15, ¿no? Y lo vamos a ver. Ahora, ojo mucho, si se les diagnostica a una temprana edad, cuando están aprendiendo a leer segundo o tercero de primaria, se puede hacer mucho. La dislexia no es algo que se quita, siempre van a vivir con ello, pero pueden desarrollar estrategias, ¿sí? Pueden desarrollar maneras, marcos de estrategias, de autorregulación, etcétera, muchas cosas. Dentro de, conforme va pasando el tiempo, ellas y ellos, si no se les diagnosticó, van a desarrollar sus propias estrategias. Van a utilizar al compañero. Oye, ¿aquí qué dijo? ¿Cómo dijo? Oye, ¿me puedes, recuérdame cuando tengamos que, ¿sí? Oiga, profesores, van a utilizar sus personalidades, van a utilizar carisma, recursos, algunos van a utilizar maneras de evadir, de evasión. Ahora, va pasando el tiempo y ya saben, por ejemplo, que la palabra tal siempre la deletrean mal. Entonces la escriben mal, ya saben que es la palabra, se acuerdan que es la palabra, la borran, ya corrigen, ¿sí? Estas estrategias que tienen ellos de autocorrección. Y va pasando el tiempo y muchos de ellos lo manejan tan bien que nunca te vas a dar cuenta en la primera lengua. Se manifiesta totalmente cuando están aprendiendo el segundo idioma, especialmente cuando este idioma no involucra una transparencia ortográfica. Es decir, cuando la O no se pronuncia como una O, se pronuncia de 5 maneras diferentes. Tal es el caso como el inglés o el francés, etcétera, etcétera, ¿no? ahí es cuando lo vas a notar. Y lo vas a notar mucho cuando de un día a otro o de un momento a otro, ceros, cero, cero, cero. O sea, regresan y regresan y regresan. No pueden, no pueden y no pueden. ¿No? Lo vas a notar, va a ser muy evidente esa persona. De ser tan rápido y cuando finalmente les abordas de una manera muy sutil de, oye, he notado que tienes algunos problemitas con esto, quisiera ayudarte, ¿me quieres platicar un poco al respecto? No, maestro, es que siempre he tenido problemas con eso, pero le voy a echar ganas, le voy a echar muchas ganas, te empiezan a revelar cositas. Siempre he sido así, desde chiquito, pues y el otro. Y sale. Es como abrir la puertita y de repente desembuchan todo, ¿no? Eso sucederá si perciben al profesor como un profesor empático, amable, que les va a escuchar y que tiene disposición para ayudar. Porque si perciben un profesor estricto, ya tienen tantas experiencias adversas, negativas, que ya no quieren meter más, ¿no? En los adultos. ¿Sí? Este, no sé si me desvié, no sé si contesté tu pregunta. ¿Sí?
Sí, sí, muy bien, gracias.
Muchas gracias, José
Muchas gracias.
Francisco. ¿Alguien
Gracias,
más?
Pango. ¿Alguien más que tenga alguna pregunta para el maestro Leonardo? ¿Algún comentario? ¿Alguna experiencia? ¿Se pueden hacer confesiones de disléxicos también en este momento? Vamos.
Fíjate, adelante, Gloria, sí. Gracias.
Muchas gracias. Bueno, yo cuando estaba escuchándolo, recordé, yo creo que ciertamente todos los maestros hemos tenido cada semestre o cada periodo lectivo al menos un alumno que se encuentra con evidentes problemas o con dificultades muy, muy claras con respecto al resto de los compañeros, ¿no? Y es muy difícil manejar eso porque ¿qué pasa cuando uno se detiene con ese alumno y entonces se tarda más y la clase se empieza a desesperar, ¿no? Es sumamente complicado trabajar con ese tipo de alumnos, ¿no? Y eh, no sé hasta qué punto puede resultar problemático para la autoestima del estudiante que uno le trate de hacer ver que tiene un problema de dislexia. No sé cómo aconseja manejar eso, porque hay el alumno que se resiste pues a reconocer que tiene un problema y dice, no, pero me voy a esforzar, pero lo voy a seguir haciendo, y entonces uno dice, sí, pero es que necesitas hacer otra cosa diferente de lo que están haciendo los demás, ¿no? Y pareciera como que uno lo está discriminando, ¿no? ¿Cómo manejar eso? Porque eh, uno quiere ayudar, pero a veces el alumno abandona porque, es que la maestra piensa que soy tonto o piensa, es difícil manejar el hacerle ver a tomar conciencia de que tiene digamos, una forma diferente de aprender con respecto a los demás compañeros, ¿no?
Excelente. Muchas gracias por su comentario. Lo que dijo al último, hermoso. Tiene una manera diferente. No está tonto, no está. No. Número uno, nosotros no podemos decir tú tienes dislexia. No podemos decir tú tienes algo. Eso no lo podemos hacer. ¿Quiénes somos? Nosotros somos docentes del área de idiomas o docentes de el área tal, ¿no? Yo no soy psicólogo, no soy psiquiatra, yo no estoy calificado para ser capacitado para hacer un diagnóstico. Entonces eso no lo podemos hacer. Lo que a mí me ha resultado casi al 95%, ya después de que dejé de verlo en todos y dejé de querer que me contestaran lo que yo quería, era precisamente lo que dije hace un momento. Oye, he notado que tienes un grado de dificultad para esto. ¿Te ha pasado antes? No, pues que sí, o que no, que le voy a echar ganas, que no sé qué. Fíjate que tengo algunas estrategias que sé que te van a ayudar. Si quieres saber un poco más, acércate conmigo. Yo ya no te lo voy a decir, ¿eh? Eso, pocas palabras, muy conciso. He notado, tengo algo que te puede ayudar, y no me vuelvo a acercar. Jamás te lo vuelvo a decir otra vez, porque tampoco te voy a estar molestando, ¿sí? Eso me ha ayudado mucho. Me ayudó mucho el quitarme alguien tiene algo. Y por eso me sentí muy bonito cuando dijo usted, tiene una más bien aprende de manera diferente, ¿no? A lo mejor no aprende de esta manera. Es cuando yo escribo en el pizarrón, tiene que copiar, o cuando tiene que hacer el escrito, cuando lo tiene que, a lo mejor de esa manera no puede. Hay que explorar el abanico para ver cuál es. ¿Sí? Ahora, eso es si no tenemos un diagnóstico, porque si dentro de nuestras pláticas, etcétera, le alentamos a ir por el diagnóstico y si va por el diagnóstico te va a decir a ti, profesor, esta persona presenta esto es lo que podemos hacer con esta persona. Entonces tú empiezas a hacer estas recomendaciones del especialista, de la persona a quien le diagnosticó, y empiezas a ver resultados diferentes. Ojo, mucho ojo, no es mágico, no es magia, no va a ser igual que los demás, ¿no? Se va a tardar más tiempo, pero sí le podemos decir, ¿sabes qué? No es que repruebes, no lo veas de esa manera, no, tienes que repetir el nivel, ¿sí? Cuando estaba en San Miguel de Allende, tuve la fortuna de poder crear los programas de ahí, ¿no? El programa de idiomas de San Miguel de Allende. Yo creé un protocolo de detección, canalización y seguimiento, ¿sí? Dentro de este protocolo era, si tu alumno me traes un diagnóstico, no tienes que pagar el curso si lo vuelves a repetir. Vas a pagar cuando pases, ¿sí? Y si tienes que repetir este curso otra vez, 3 o 4 veces, pues no pasa nada. Vas a pagar cuando pases. Sí, el próximo nivel, el próximo nivel. Afortunadamente, las autoridades de la Inés León han sido increíbles. La doctora Laura Susana Costa, híjole, también el maestro Salvador, el doctor de la Fuente, han sido muy abiertos a este tema porque reconocen la importancia. Entonces, me han dado libertad, me han dado pauta para seguir con esto y seguir proponiendo, ¿no? Espero haya contestado su pregunta y si no, su duda. Si no me pueden decir, oye, Leo, te fuiste por allá porque sí lo hago.
Bueno, yo creo que es importante esto del protocolo, me parece que es una innovación, además de algo muy necesario y muy importante porque todos somos tan diversos, los alumnos también. Quizá haya espacio para un comentario más, una pregunta más, alguien que quisiera tomar la palabra. ¿No? Bueno, como una buena clase, como una buena clase, tiene que ser. Bueno, muchas gracias a todos. Agradezco nuevamente al maestro Leonardo, que siempre se ha portado hasta ahora que nos vemos, de una manera puntual, atenta y demás. Me parece muy interesante su presentación. Creo que todos nos llevamos algún aprendizaje, aunque no lo digamos ahorita. Le hago extensiva la invitación para que no sea la única ocasión en que nos acompañe en el seminario de lingüística. Siempre será bienvenido. Y también quiero hacerles un recordatorio que el día 12 y 13 de junio tenemos las segundas jornadas del CELITA. Tendremos algunas actividades y el programa que se puede consultar en nuestras redes. Esta presentación también estará disponible en el canal oficial del CELITA en YouTube. Y tenemos aquí a la maestra Gloria Lagarce y Viviana Páez, si quisieran decir algunas palabras antes de despedirnos o alguna información adicional.
Pues no, simplemente reiterar la petición de que divulguen entre sus colegas de sus áreas el trabajo que se está haciendo en el Seminario de Lingüística Teórica y Aplicada para, digamos, la superación académica de los docentes, la actualización en contenidos tan importantes, por ejemplo, como ¿no? La atención a dificultades específicas de aprendizaje en las clases de lenguas es un tema que nos interesa a todos y hay diferentes temas que se están trabajando en el seminario, que se están difundiendo y nos gustaría que muchos más colegas participaran, compartieran experiencias y se unieran a este esfuerzo del seminario por ser lo que es un semillero, ¿no? De investigadores, de docentes interesados en mejorar su práctica, de tener buenas prácticas.
Ok, bueno, muchas gracias, maestra. Bueno, no me queda más que reiterarle mi agradecimiento, maestro Leonardo. Muchas gracias a todos por su tiempo y su atención en este evento. manténganse atentos a los demás que vendrán. Un gusto verlos siempre. Y bueno, excelente tarde para todos. Muchas gracias.
Muchas
Buenas
gracias.
tardes.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Maestro Leonardo, una vez, muchísimas
Gracias.
gracias. Le haremos llegar el programa de las jornadas. Un abrazo también de mi parte. Bonita tarde. Hasta luego.
Muchas
Bonita tarde a
gracias.
todos. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.